everybody, it's JT Sports Match, you guys, with another video. I'm here with the NFL Week 11 playoff picture. Going to be looking at the playoffs standings right now, going into Week 11 of the NFL season. We're going to be talking about the teams that, if the playoffs were to start today, will be in the playoffs, and the teams that are on the outside looking in of the playoffs. Now, before I begin, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. So, let's start with the NFC. So, with the 1 seed as of right now, we have the San Francisco 49ers. They are 8-1 on the season. They currently have the 1 seed. And at number 2, we have the Green Bay Packers, who are 8-2. Now, the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers play next week, Week 12, on Sunday Night Football. And potentially, whoever wins that game could potentially end up having that number 1 seed going in after Week 12. So, the 49ers, Green Bay Packers are the 1 and 2 seeds right now. If the NFL playoffs were to start today, they will have home field advantage, and they will have a first-round bye. Now, getting into 3 and 4 seeds, at number 3, we have the New Orleans Saints. They are 7-2. A lot of people are expecting them to be 8-2 and be tied with the Packers for that 2 seed, but they lost to the Atlanta Falcons. Don't know how that happened. Don't know why that happened, but I mean, they're 7-2 right now. And at number 4, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who are 5-4 right now. Right now, they're basically fighting for the playoff lives right now. Basically, when you look at all these teams that are in the playoff hunt right now, that are in the playoffs right now, they all have a pretty solid lead in their division, besides Minnesota and Seattle, who are back in the division, but not really that far. Dallas is in a really tight division race, because you got Philadelphia, who is right on their trail. Now, Dallas is at number 4 right now, but the Rams and the Eagles could easily slide up and take that Dallas Cowboys 4th seed playoff spot that they have right now currently if Dallas drops the game. And Dallas has a very tough schedule coming up. They got a game with Buffalo, and they also have a game with New England in the next couple of weeks. So Dallas could easily end up going from the 4th seed to being on the outside looking in of the playoffs, because Philadelphia is right on their trail. So Philadelphia is right on their trail. So, if Philadelphia was to win this week versus New England, and Dallas was to find a way to lose to Detroit this week, then Philadelphia would end up going 6-4, and Dallas would drop to 5-5, and then that means Philadelphia would take the 4th seed from Dallas, and Dallas will be on the outside looking in of the playoffs. So, Dallas really needs to tighten up, and they really need to string along some wins, because right now, if they lose one game, they could end up being on the outside looking in, because Philadelphia is right on their trail, and Philadelphia has started to get hot over the last couple of weeks. So at number 5, we have the Seattle Seahawks, who are 8-2. They beat the 49ers on Monday Night Football. They are right behind the 49ers. So the 49ers drop a game, then they will potentially end up being the number 1 seed. And I think the reason why that happens is because as of right now, the Seahawks will hold the tiebreaker on the 49ers. So the Seattle Seahawks have the potential to slide from the number 5 seed to either the 2 seed or the 1 seed, depending on how things plays out with that 49ers and Packers game. And potentially, if Seattle goes, and let's say Seattle next week ends up winning, they end up going to 9-2, but the 49ers lose to the Green Bay Packers, and let's say they drop to 9-2 or something like that, then Seattle would take that, either that number 1 seed or that number 2 seed, and the 49ers would drop down to the 5 seed, since the Seattle Seahawks will hold the tiebreaker over the 49ers as of right now till they end up playing for a second time. So since the Seattle Seahawks got the last victory over the 49ers, then that will put them up over the 49ers, since they got the last win versus the 49ers until they play again. So, at number 6, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are 7-3 right now. They're also in the mix for home field advantage, because it's still pretty early. Still a lot of football to be played. But as of right now, it's a little bit hard to determine who's going to end up having home field advantage and who's going to be on the wild card, looking at how closely contested things are right now, because look, it's not really a big difference in records between the 1 and the 2 seeds and the 5 seeds and the 6 seeds. Then you got Dallas in there. Dallas is they're pretty much the worst. They have the worst record out of all these teams that's currently in the playoffs if the playoffs were to start today. So basically the Minnesota Vikings, Seattle Seahawks, the Saints, the Packers, the 49ers, they really don't have anything to worry about. They don't really have to worry about these teams in the hunt unless these teams start going down on a big losing streak or something like that. But for the most part, these teams don't have to worry about these teams I'm about to start bringing up in the next couple of seconds that are in the hunt. The only team that has to worry about losing their potential playoff spot would be Dallas. But the only reason Dallas could lose their playoff spot is because the 4 seeds go for the divisional winners, whoever wins the division. So since Dallas, if Philadelphia was to win this week and Dallas was to lose this week, the Eagles would get the 4 seed since they would be leading the division. So going into the NFC teams that are in the hunt, which means if you're in the hunt, that means you're on the outside looking into the playoffs. So we have a lot of teams right now. So right now, currently, the Rams are 5-4, the Eagles are 5-4, and the Panthers are 5-4. Now, the only team that has a good chance of right now of getting in the playoffs right now, if the playoffs were to start today, will be the Eagles, because the Rams and the Panthers are 5-4. But you got to look at those other couple of teams that I just mentioned. You got to look at Seattle and you got to look at Minnesota. Both of those teams are 8-2, and Minnesota, no, Seattle is 8-2 and Minnesota is 7-3. So the Rams and the Panthers would not be able to get in unless they find a way to unless the Panthers find a way to haul in the Saints, because the Saints are 7-2, and the Rams have to find out a way to haul in the Seattle Seahawks and the 49ers. So basically those two teams could end up having winning records but still not make the playoffs, because the first 4 seeds go to the divisional winners, unless those teams find a way to win the division, which we aren't expecting those 2 teams to win the division. And they got to hope for Seattle or Minnesota or somebody to fall off and able to get one of those spots. So right now, those teams are in a hole, a big hole right now. They have a lot of ground that they have to make up. Now the Eagles can get in because since they're tied with Dallas for the lead in the division, for number 1 in the division, the Eagles and Dallas, if Dallas loses this week and the Philadelphia wins this week, then they will end up taking Dallas' spot. But if Dallas wins this week and Philadelphia loses, then Dallas still remains the number 4 seed. So then you also got the Chicago Bears, who are at 4-5. You got Detroit, who is 3-5-1. Then you got the Cardinals, who are 3-6-1, and the Buccaneers. Now they're not completely eliminated out the playoff race yet, but pretty much a loss this week for either one of those teams, either the Lions, the Cardinals, or the Buccaneers, would pretty much end their playoff hopes. And basically, you can already say that they're out of the playoffs when you look at Minnesota and Seattle. There's just a big separation. And I mean, for the Arizona Cardinals and the Buccaneers and the Lions, they're like what? They're like a couple of games back. So they have a lot of work to do. A lot of things have to happen. So now getting into the AFC playoff picture for what the AFC is looking like right now. So at number 1, you have the New England Patriots, who have the best overall record in the AFC. They are 8-1. At number 2, you have the Baltimore Ravens, who are 7-2. Now, me personally, I think Baltimore is going to end up getting that number 1 seed, because I think Baltimore is the best team in the AFC as of right now. Then at number 3, you have the Houston Texans. Now, the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans play this Sunday. Now, depending on what happens in that game, if Houston wins and Baltimore loses, then it will be tied for that number 2 seed, depending on what happens. Now at number 4, you got Kansas City. Kansas City is 6-4. They lost to the Tennessee Titans last week. Again, don't know how that happened, but I'm not surprised it happened, because Tennessee, this is what they're known for. They lose to sorry teams or garbage teams, but they beat good teams. Then you got Buffalo. Now Buffalo has a schedule, has a very, very easy schedule over the next 2 weeks. But after the next 2 weeks, then that's when their schedule starts to pick up. So you got the Buffalo Bills, who are sitting at 6-3 right now. They have a little bit of breathing room. Now at that number 6 seed, that's where things are really, really, really competitive right now, because you got Pittsburgh right now, who is 5-4 right now. They have the 6 seed. Now, Pittsburgh, they're trying to hold on to that 6 seed because they have a lot of teams, because the AFC playoff picture, when it comes to the wild card picture, is not as set in stone as the NFC playoff picture because it's a pretty big margin of error for those two teams than in the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings. They have way better records than the teams who are on the outside looking in. On the teams in the NFC who are on the outside looking in, they're like 2-3 games back. But the teams in the AFC, I mean, it's neck on neck, man. Basically, everybody has the same record. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 5-4, they're second in the AFC North. They're competing with basically the whole entire AFC South division. And you're competing with the Oakland Raiders as well. So the Oakland Raiders, they're 5-4 right now. So if Pittsburgh loses to the Browns and Oakland wins this week, then Oakland will move to 6-4, and they will take that 6th seed. Then you got the Indianapolis Colts, you got the Tennessee Titans, and you got the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts are 5-4, Tennessee Titans are 5-5, and you got the Jaguars who are 4-5 right now. Then you got the Chargers who are 4-6. Then you got the Browns and Broncos, which although they have terrible records, they are 3-6 both. They still have a chance of getting in because they haven't mathematically been eliminated from the playoff race or the playoff picture yet. So that's why you got the 3-6 teams in there, because they have a small chance of making it to the playoffs. They're pretty much out the playoff picture, but they're not mathematically. So that's it for my NFL Week 11 playoff picture. Let me know which one of those teams you think ends up getting into the playoffs, who you think will end up losing this week, all that good stuff. Have a debate about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and college football videos, and thanks for watching.